Hello and welcome back to part 2 of So You Want to Be a Streamer. In this video we'll be primarily focusing on what it takes to start out and see that initial growth that so many people find to be a little bit difficult to achieve in the early goings. As a general rule of thumb here, there's a checklist of things that you would need. Certainly some are required, some are recommended. I'll be going down through these here in a moment. Broadcasting channel obviously is something that would be required. Personally I recommend Twitch TV. That's kind of what this stuff is geared towards here. Now, as far as putting the content out there, you're going to need something that you're going to be playing the games on and or recording and or broadcasting with. Something like a next-gen console that you can play and stream from, which would probably be my last recommended thing. I personally recommend using a PC with a capture device and the stream software, so even if you're using a console, you'd still be broadcasting that way. The reason is it just gives you a lot more functionality with your overlays and your stream setup, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. Anyway, so that's something that would definitely be required. You need a way to play the game, you need a way to broadcast. So if you have a next-gen console, you can play and stream from the console. If you have a PC, you can do that with the PC. If you have a capture card, you can use that with the PC and or the console. Now keep in mind a capture card isn't going to do too much for you in a single PC setup. It has its uses, but you're not going to see that much more of a performance gain. You would certainly see it, though, with a 2PC plus capture card setup. That's a whole different video, though. You'll need broadcasting software, such as XSplit or OBS. Personally, I recommend OBS because it's free, number one. You have commercial rights to use it. That's a big thing. With XSplit, technically, if you want to do things legitimately, you need to purchase a higher level of license for the software, which is much more expensive if you want to do it commercially. So if you're planning on going to the top and becoming a partner, that's something to consider. OBS and XSplit do 99% of the same things, to be honest with you. A lot of people say that OBS will give you a performance gain. I didn't see a performance gain. But what I did see was that starting out XSplit was a little bit easier to use. OBS was a little bit more complicated. But once you kind of found your groove and you knew what you were doing, I actually work with OBS now much faster than I do with XSplit. The quality for me is the same, the performance is the same, but it's also free. It doesn't come with a license requirement. So moving on, you're going to want a headset and or a microphone. Personally, I use both. For my microphone duties, I use a dedicated headset. For those of you that are wondering, it is the CAD microphone model U37, so CID U37. It's a much cheaper alternative to something like the Audio-Technica AT2020, which is about $100 itself, and I think this thing comes in at around maybe $60 or $70. Maybe you can get it around $50, something like that. The reason I went for the CAD U37 is the specs are pretty much about the same, but what you're enabling yourself to do there is save quite a bit of money so that you can get things like a shock mount, pop filter, and a mic boom or stand, depending on how you want to do things, all for the same price as just the AT2020 mic. Moving on from that, you're definitely want to have a quality internet connection. 3 megabit per second upload is definitely, I would say, a requirement at this point. If you want to keep up with the Joneses in the quality department, you're going to want a 720p stream. I would recommend a 3 megabit connection for that, because a lot of times now you're going to want to do 720p 60 frames per second. You're definitely going to want the 3 megabits for that. Personally, I recommend 10 or greater, so somewhere in the 10 to 20 range, which is easily achievable in the lower 48 in the United States. Comcast, Cox, Time Warner, they all have your 5, 10, and 20 megabit uploads on residential plans. You're not going to get something like that on DSL, though you would be able to find that. A lot of DSL providers now have stuff like the fiber optics, like Verizon has Fios. You'll be able to get like maybe an easy 25 upload on Fios for probably the same price as you'd get something much greater on cable, if you could even get it. Fios tends to be a little bit cheaper. That being said, moving on, you're definitely going to want your 2 displays, or at least some way to follow chat. The second display helps out if you want to start adding things like overlays, capturing chat, if you want to hold giveaways, watch videos with your audience. Anything that you need to do that's off screen should be on that second screen. So if somebody puts a link in your chat and it's a screamer or some nasty video or something that, or image even, that shouldn't be on there, If it opens up on your second display, it's not going to matter because your audience isn't going to see it. You're not going to risk having your channel shut down. Your game, whatever you're playing, should be on your primary display, and your secondary display is always going to have that secondary stuff on it. Minimum 2 displays. That's the rule of thumb. Now, if you don't have a second display, if you have something like an iPad or a tablet or something that you can use to follow chat, you can do that. If you have a laptop, even that works too. That'll enable you to run everything on the laptop. Not everything, I mean, but you can preview your stream, you can watch the dashboard, follow chat on it. But I highly recommend, especially if you're a PC streamer, to have at least 2 displays. It's very important. Set yourself up a schedule too, guys. 3 to 5 days a week minimum. I know it sounds like a lot, with 3-hour casts. The reason I say 3-hour casts is it takes a while for people to filter into your stream. You might stream for 2 hours, and the final hour you finally get those 5 or 6 people in there that you didn't have before, and you're going to hate going. Now, you might say, okay, I'll stream an extra 2 hours. That's fine. Keep in mind that eventually when you want to go for partnership, though, they're going to want to see those regular broadcasts. They're going to want to see some sort of a schedule in place. Like, yeah, I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that for, several hours a day. Because transcoding, as they will tell you when you apply for partnership, is expensive, and they want to make sure that the people that they're giving it to are actually, making use of it. They don't want to, put their money and time into somebody that streams once a month. That's just not going to get you anywhere. So set yourself up a regular schedule. Doesn't matter if it's one game or, a certain amount of games in rotation. Just set a schedule and stick to it. You may notice that I'm using one of my stream images here, a video capture, just letting people know that the broadcast will begin shortly. I also have, I'm going to switch to it here. I'm using OBS to record this, so I can do this. This one says, be right back after this quick break. And this one here says, thank you all and see you next time. The other thing that you may notice about it is it has these social media icons with the name of the social media account right next to it. There's a couple things that are important about these. First and foremost, this keeps my audience informed if I have to get up and feed the cat, or if there's a fire, or something, anything, any reason why I might be starting late, taking a break, or ending. If somebody joins your stream as you're ending and they see that final screen, it says the stream's ending, they'll know you're ending. They're not going to waste 10 minutes while you sit there with the game running and music playing saying goodbye to your audience. It's one of the things that's hard for me personally to do at the end of the night when you have a lot of people in there, is to actually cut the stream off. So, I try to make a habit of, for a minute or two there, just having that screen up so people can see, the video preview of the stream when they're looking through all the streams that are available under that game category. The stream's ending, skip it, move on to another one. And also the social media icons there. It's kind of important too. If the stream's ending, that just gives people a way to interact with you outside of the stream, and that's something that we'll get into in a little bit as well. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I would highly recommend having these, because this is going to be another way for you to interact with your audience both during and after your broadcasts. Before and after, I should say. You want unique branding across all of your social media platforms, which includes channel art. So if I were to let's say have my own social media icons made with maybe like a cartoon image of my face on it, I would use it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, everything. You basically, what you want to do is create a name for yourself and put an image to that name. And you want people to be able to identify you regardless of where they are. You don't want to have a Twitter account that's named one thing attached to a YouTube account that's named another. I understand this can't be done in all cases because some names are really popular, or you have an account that's 6 years old and you used a completely different online identity when you made it, unfortunately. But if you have a name, and it's your brand, stick to it. It's going to help you out in the long run. Now, if you meet or exceed these requirements, obviously you have what it takes to begin broadcasting. So it's important to stand out from the crowd, but sometimes you just really can't reinvent the wheel. So what you'll want to do is find a good balance between the two. Try to keep your channel art clean and simple, and yet attention grabbing all the same. So you don't want an overabundance of information in your channel's info section. Obviously, as the average attention span for your viewers is really not great enough to soak it all in. You don't want to be one of those people that has an info section below your Twitch channel that extends down for what feels like 9 pages. You know, short descriptions below each link, that's it. You know, an image that leads somewhere, that's it. One of the things I recommend doing is setting yourself up a website and then putting the information on the website and then just having the website there. And that's it. And, you know, people aren't stupid. If they want to find your Twitter, they'll find your Twitter. They don't need a big image of a Twitter button below. If people want to donate to you, they'll find out how to donate to you. They don't need a 9-inch coin jar below your stream. They just don't need it. Now, that being said, you know, having all of your content and social media platforms uniformly named, like I mentioned, is a big plus. It's much easier for a fan to find you, whether you're online or not. You know, so for instance, a YouTube account named something like, you know, 123 Lego Man 1234567 doesn't really fit well with a Twitch account named Codmaster XX88888, you know, and a Twitter account that has your real name on it. You know, the three of those don't mesh very well. You know, for instance, I use Illicit Media for everything I do, and that's helped me in the past. I've had people say, hey, I didn't know you had a YouTube, because they looked it up just to see if I had a YouTube. And they were able to do that because I only use that name. Now, obviously, that makes it a little bit easier for people to kind of fake being you if they want to create a name. Like, I don't think I can, at least at one point, there was a PlayStation name, and I don't even own a PlayStation, that was taken. Somebody approached me a couple of years ago and asked me if they could use my name in a game that I was never going to play, and I just said, hey, go have at it. Anyway, so moving on. If you do choose to stream console content, as I mentioned, I highly recommend using a PC and a capture device to stream, so as to allow for greater flexibility in the stream layout. Obviously, viewer interaction is the most important key to success for beginners. Make sure you have the ability to follow chat, answer questions, thank new followers, etc. This is something that used to be quite common. It's not so much anymore. Alt-tabbing out to get to your dashboard so you can follow chat, it's just really not an option in this day and age. Honestly, there's too many people out there that have, you know, close to professional quality streams, and they're only amateurs, and you want to get to their level or above. You know, something that you can consider, again, a webcam. I didn't put this on the checklist, but a webcam, it's not very important. Please don't think that you need to rush out and get some 1080p webcam. First and foremost, a webcam takes up a very small portion of your screen. You can put it in 360p because the size of the window you should put your webcam in 99% of the time, you're not going to be able to tell the quality difference because of the pixel density at that size. It's going to make it look like high definition anyway. That being said, I recommend, especially with the Logitech cams, like I use a C910, I believe, only set it to 720p. Again, it's not going to matter. You're not going to notice the difference between 720 and 1080. You know, don't have your webcam be too large. If you're using a webcam and you're not using a green screen, consider using an overlay. Nothing looks tackier than a game screen and a camera on it with no frame around it. It just looks tacky. What you can consider doing, though, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but there's something, it's basically a green screen or green muslin cloth. It's MUSLIN. You can look it up on Amazon. It's like $15-20 for like 60 square feet of it. You can tack it up or hang it using PVC pipe, hot glue, and hook and eye nail solutions. And you can hang it from your ceiling if you want using hook and eyes, and that way you can just take it down if you need to take it down. But having a green screen is a huge step towards a professional looking screen. Personally, I don't use my camera all the time, and I just moved recently, so I don't have my green screen up, or I would show you. But it does, you know, if lit properly, you know, and without wrinkles, a green screen is a very nice touch for a broadcast. It allows you to really stretch out the game area, put yourself over the game. It's just a really nice effect. Now, the more time and effort you put into planning your channel like this, you know, consider your planning phase and your preparation and your effort. Consider watching these videos part of that. You know, the more time and effort you put into the planning of the channel, the more likely you are to have quick growth. Quick growth is going to help you out. You don't want to stream for 6 months and average 2 viewers. You just don't want to do it. I think, you know, on my own channel, it took me a couple months to get to maybe 2,000 followers, something like that. And then I got to 4,000 much faster. Now, since I haven't been streaming, it's been going down and down and down and down and down. When it was quickly growing, though, thanks to giveaways, which we'll get into here a little bit later, that's one of my do nots. But thanks to giveaways, I would average, several hundred viewers during the course of the giveaways in Diablo 3, giving items away. But it wasn't a sustained growth, so it was good to have all those people there, and the channel grew very quickly. But in the end, that's a lesson learned. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, the more effort you put into it, the more likely you are to have that quick growth there. And if you hit the ground running, that'll be because you really put some thought into it. So we'll see you guys back here in part 3, where we're going to discuss some of those do's and don'ts that are going to assist you in maintaining that early success and actually kind of parlaying that into something a little bit greater.